broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, AfterBuzzers. Welcome back to AfterBuzz TV's Narcos After Show. We are here breaking down Season 1, Episode 9, La Catedral.
Ooh,
yeah.
It gets better every
Roll
episode.
that R. There you go. Yeah.
Every episode. You should know full Spanish by the end of all 10 episodes.
3 years in college. My name is Isaac Johnson. You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram, The Isaac Johnson, and estoy con mi amiga, Ashley Chapman.
Muchas gracias, Isaac. Hey guys, Ashley. You can check me out on Twitter, Instagram, Ashley_Chapman. Please tweet at me. I'd love to hear your comments for this episode.
Yeah, make sure you head over to youtube.com AfterBuzz TV. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, or hashtag ABTV Narcos if you want to tweet directly at us during the show. That'd be cool. Let's go on and break down into this episode. We saw the continued paranoia of Pablo. Who knew that was coming when you build your own prison? How'd you feel about the episode?
You know what? That's interesting that you say that, because this seemed like such a great idea. Like, this is going to be my escape. This is going to be my fortress, my freedom. But it turned out to be the exact opposite. I think he doesn't really like being in prison. What a shocker there.
Yeah.
So even though he was able to make his own prison and his own, sanctuary in a sense, it's still not enough for him. He actually still does feel really trapped and imprisoned, which is interesting considering you have a casino and
it's like a resort.
Hot tubs. Exactly. Like, some resorts are not that nice. So. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. What did you think of this episode?
I thought it was great. I think we're heading towards like a pretty great finale. It seems like they're really kind of painting Pablo into a corner there.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see like what happens with it, and then like knowing there's a season 2, it's like, well, how are they going to end it? Like,
exactly.
Cliffhanger? No cliffhanger? Probably cliffhanger is my guess.
I'm sure. And for whatever reason, I felt like they were going to pump this up in this episode, since they brought us back to that first episode scene where they kill.
Showing poison to shot.
And so I was hoping that, we would see the scene again where Pablo is putting the hit out on Steve. Maybe that'll happen in episode 10, but they didn't really pump it up as much. So I was looking more so for that, and we kind of went on a different storyline. It was still good, but maybe for the season finale it will.
Quite possible. I like let's start talking about Steve, because I like that they're kind of giving him a little more going on with his character. I like it. They adopt that baby. Oh, that was nice. But
family ties.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good though. Like, hey, there's something nice happening on this show.
I know, right?
Isn't that good? Olivia, they're gonna name her. But they're out there discussing having, adopting this baby and what to name her. Like, we can name it after my mom. Like, heck no. Connie don't like that at all. But so he flips out on this cab driver and points a gun in his face. I'm like, whoa, Steve.
Not only points a gun in his face, but shoots his tire.
Yes,
it's like the biggest FU, and it was like it was your fault. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's very interesting where they're trying to take his character arc now, and I wonder if how much it parallels to the real Steve Murphy, because
you gotta imagine
it was
that it
intense.
does.
I feel like everything in so far they've been able to do a really good job with paralleling to the real events and to the real people. So that was a very, very, it was almost like psychotic in a sense, because he just jumps back into the car and it's like, I think Olivia will be, great.
Yeah, I think Olivia's great. Like,
backing up.
Realize you just shot that dude's tire, and
exactly.
You're like law enforcement of something.
Right, exactly.
Well, he, I mean, the guy was kind of jarring at him. He was well annoying to me personally. I wouldn't put a gun in his face. That's just not the way I roll.
But that's just how. I mean, that's how people in LA act. If you get into some traffic, people will be real quick. So
be careful out here.
in these streets.
We had him. I'm pretty sure it was last episode where he finds out where poison is. Which that was that flashback, and he basically sticks Carrillo on him, and he knows what's going to happen. That's as far as we saw him go morally, because he talks about if you think I'm a bad guy, you haven't spent enough time around bad guys. But this is kind of bad behavior out of Steve. Look, the guy was jarring at you. there are some laws here. You must follow them, sir. But shooting the guy's tire, this was like, really to me, this moment, I think there was one other that I can't think of at the moment, but this is him kind of acting like Pablo.
I was gonna say the moment, especially when he's with Navigente, who's the guy who's helping.
Right. That's the other moment.
That they're getting him to take photos. This with the cab, and then with Carrillo, because when he made that order, he's holding Olivia or the baby at that time. So it was a very calculated, but still kind of really it was really like, I don't want to say evil, but it was like he knew exactly what was going to happen.
Right.
So it was very much like Pablo in the sense of Pablo in the beginning, I should say, where he made all of these really bad moves, but they were very calculated, and he was very calm. And he just had the right amount of intimidation to really make people around him scared without him going, too far off the handle.
Right. Well, I mean, I think before, he just didn't he even mentioned his last episode, Pablo fights dirty, essentially. And we haven't been willing to fight dirty, which is why we haven't gotten him. So now that it seems like that he's got a taste of this sort of playing by those rules, not the rules that he previously had. And now it seems like it's gone into his personal life. I was wondering... So Connie's there holding the baby, sees him get out, sees him pull the gun on the dude, which is surprising, in any situation, let alone if your husband's a DEA.
Yeah.
And she's oh my God, Yeah. And she's holding the baby, and then he gets in the car let's name her Olivia, and then backs up and peels out around the dude. And I'm like, what is she thinking at this point? Because she hasn't seen this kind of behavior out of him. She didn't know about the essentially hit on poison. But what do you think's going through her mind there?
Well, shock, obviously. Yeah. I know if my husband ever pulled any crap like that, I'd probably, I would do other explicative things. But amongst those would be me just being in shock. Like, what? What's going on?
I half expected her to be like, so what was that?
Smack him upside the head or, something.
I don't know that... person that's pulled a gun on somebody, maybe you don't want to hit them.
I would have improv that. Don't
want to anger them. They've got a weapon and they'll apparently use it.
I would have gone a little method in that role and just kind of went ham. But I was trying to draw. Well, I don't know, because Connie kind of brought an interesting situation when she brought. Why am I blanking on her name? The who was it that she got out the country? Why am I blanking on her name?
From M19.
From M19. Not Helena. Not
Helena, no. Help us out in the comments.
Yes, please help us out. We're having
probably
brain
screaming at us
here
by this time.
I know, right? She brings her into the whole mix, and that created a really dangerous situation for them. So, I don't know. It's really shocking, but I would kind of think that she understands a little bit, that they're in a different country, and so But that being so personal, it's one thing if it's on the job, but that was something completely separate and personal, and
exactly, and that's the thing that should bother her. Obviously it did, but it'd be interesting to see where they go with that, because like you mentioned, it's okay. They got Navigente in the back of the truck there. Him and Javier kind of pop on the scene my car's broken down. I'm like, dude, don't fall for that. But then, they pop out and then they're talking to him. And even Javier seemed kind of taken aback by him putting that, that's the moment where he was the most like Pablo to me. Because putting that gun, I'm your boss, that kind of stuff was
something Pablo would do,
what is snapped in Steve's brain at this point? Because this, none of this is officially the way to deal with people as a DEA, but I'm like, man, he's, I know that he's trying to become the person he's trying to catch to some degree or something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but him putting the gun in that guy's face and telling him, I'm your boss now. I'm like, Javier's all right, are you okay?
But it's so hard to even judge, because all of them have really gone outside of the book.
Sure, yeah.
To get people. We saw in the last episode with Carrillo and Gustavo. There's endless examples of how they all have gone over the line and beyond to sort of get their target. So I can't even look at Steve and judge and say, ooh, he's turning to the dark side. I think it's just the stress and the anger of them losing time and time again to Pablo. Even in this situation, they're trying to get a win, but they have technically lost
right,
to Pablo
exactly.
again.
Yeah, they have lost to him.
So there's a frustration there, and I think that that's starting to come out and manifest itself in different ways.
Sure. Well,
it's not right, but
yeah. Even Carrillo mentions like, look, dude, he won.
Yeah.
That whole thing. The Javier's informant that like Pacho later kind of sends to them to turn them on the Medellín cartel. Like I don't think I caught his name, but his informant is talking to them on the rooftop at like towards the end of the episode there. And he's like, what does he say? Like like he needs some more convincing or something like that. I'm kind of wondering. Ooh, like what does that mean? Like maybe we'll say that for predictions or something like that. But
for
that
Steve,
was,
you mean?
Yeah, for Steve, because he's like maybe Steve needs some more convincing because it's Javier's guy.
Yeah.
And then he says like how bad do you want him? And it seems like one like look, we're not gonna do business with you and like give you guys a free pass or something like that. But it seems like because he wants Pablo so bad, that's what's driving him to this kind of behavior. You think the same?
Well, I kind of took it as he just needs more reassurance that this isn't another trap. Of
course,
because when they first ran into Naviente with the whole car stopping and blocking his path,
Put a camera in there.
everything was empty though.
Yeah.
So where it looked like it was a situation where he should have been importing something, there was nothing. And I took it as, okay, they knew that they were coming, so they emptied everything out, So it's in every turn, it seems like Pablo always has the upper hand as far as information goes. So I think for Steve, it's like, it seems too good to be true. I just need something else to help me justify us going forward with this plan because we've gone through so many plans and a lot of them have failed.
Right. And he's just like you said, he's just continually frustrated that this guy's always a step ahead. But it was just interesting because it's like, well, like that character saying like, how bad do you want him? It's like, pretty bad. It seems like because he's willing to put like guns in people's faces and all this kind of stuff. But I thought the putting the cameras in the truck is obviously smart.
That was.
I was kind of wondering like, why would this guy not just take the cameras out? I mean, like I guess like maybe they can catch him again. And I mean, he obviously scared the stuff out of him. But at the same time, like I was like,
Which, I don't know, what did you think of that? Because Naviente is working for Pablo, which at this point, because he has his own sanctuary, he's still making money, and he's Pablo Escobar. He was extremely scared about doing the whole taking photos things, obviously for his life. But Steve and Javier seemed to scare and intimidate him even more. And I kept wrestling with that. I'm like, if I was in Naviente's position, like, what would I choose? Like, am I gonna betray Pablo? Is he the more intimidating, scary person that I should be?
Yeah, I would think so.
Or little scrawny. I mean, not to say, but like little scrawny Steve and Javier. I mean, they work for the DEA, but
and they can't touch them, so there is a scare factor there. If they do, like if he does try to like I guess he's in a rock and a hard place, or between a rock and a hard place, right? Like Pablo on the set, so you guys still do the runs and get. Ladies,
but I mean, he could easily,
to the prison,
exactly, amongst a lot of things,
a lot of other things,
yeah.
But but then like so it's like when he gets to the prison, he's scared there, and when he's outside the prison, like, well, these guys are probably gonna find me again because they know me,
But he could have easily told Pablo. He could have said, "Oh yeah, I'll take the pictures." He could have gone back to the prison and said, "Look, they came to me. They're tailing, and
true.
set something up." But he just his entire loyalty went straight to the DEA after that whole interaction.
Yeah,
and I kind of wondered, would that be enough to intimidate
It's true. That's
you,
why I was kind of like, well, why would he do that? But like, look, Pablo's kind of losing his stuff too. So like, he's kind of like, well, I don't want to tell him anything because he could flip out on me.
Very
too.
True.
Who knows? But so Pacho here, he's the one that like basically because of this whole war business, because Pablo is losing his stuff. They only offered me $3 million as the $10 million or whatever. But so they have a war between these two cartel basically at this point.
The Cali cartel and Medellín.
They kill 10 of his men. He didn't like that, so then what he does is turn the DEA. Well, obviously he wouldn't like that.
I love you said like he didn't like that.
He wasn't a big fan.
Yeah.
But so he ends up turning. That's his informant. So he's gonna turn the DEA against the Medellín cartel because everything that Pablo's doing in prison is illegal.
Of course.
A lot of things. He doesn't do anything legal. I don't know. But now they have evidence from these photos. I like Pacho. I don't know why, but I'm rooting for him. Yeah, but I mean, like, they both do the same thing. They traffic cocaine, which for the record, is a terrible thing.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes. Kids at home watching.
But
don't do
somehow
drugs.
I find myself rooting for Pacho, maybe because he's so much more sophisticated. He doesn't seem to be out of his mind. He seems to be, civilized. Are you feeling any sympathy for him or rooting for him in any way?
I mean, I honestly thought that he was a goner with that whole soccer ball scene.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I didn't think we would see too many more scenes with him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm rooting for him. I just hope that he is an integral part. But I feel like with any other kingpin or any other person who's like a head of a drug cartel or drug lord, he has his motives. And
Sure.
I think a part of him bringing Pablo Escobar down is so that he can sort of gain some
Right.
sort of prominence within the cartel
Sure.
business and make more money for himself. And it's all about doing what you can to eliminate people who are going to get in your way and keep you from being successful in your
Right.
business. So I don't know if I'm rooting for him just as much as I hope that he's influential in helping bring Pablo down.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I mean, drug dealer, so
Yeah.
he'll have a demise as well, I'm sure.
And that's like one of the things I feel like, or at least for me, like that's what the show is doing well, because like maybe it's just because Pablo is so evil.
Yeah, by
at least
comparison,
this guy is like
yeah.
rational, and I think to some degree, like if Pablo left him alone, he would just do his business in New York and not worry about Pablo. But Pablo is forcing his hand here by making him, pay this amount, $10 million. Like Pablo's richer than God at this point. Wasn't even $10 million, and then he's like, let's make it 30 mil,
Yeah.
like while we're at it. So he's kind of forcing their hand, and for some reason, I find myself kind of being like, well, I hope he takes down Pablo, but they do the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just,
I know. By comparison now, everybody just looks significantly better. Like,
course.
I even had a moment where I felt a little bad for Gustavo and the way that
Right.
he kind of went out, just because, he seemed very loyal, very family oriented, just a person who just wanted to come up in life. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And just the way that he went out, like he just wanted to be loyal to Pablo until the very end, and that
Right.
type of love and that type of that friendship that it was sad to kind of see him lose that, but
Yeah.
even still it was like, Gustavo, you're a bad guy.
Yeah,
So
nobody's good here.
nobody's really crying tears except for Pablo
and his mother.
and yeah.
But so when Galliano and Moncado come to talk to Pacho about the money or whatever, and they're like, look, how many drugs have you, or like, I can't remember what it was, but like, how much have you shipped because of us, like, and then, basically Pablo's fixed this problem for this. Extradition isn't the thing where it's like, dude, the whole reason that these guys are after us is
Yeah.
because Pablo was killing congressmen,
Yeah.
just randomly bombing people. He's caused this problem. The reason we were at war with Colombia is because of this guy, which, makes a lot of sense, because it is his problem. It is
Very
his fault.
true.
I mean, I guess Pacho, maybe shouldn't be trafficking
Yeah.
the drugs, so there is that as well.
Always, yeah.
But he's got a very solid point here that like, look, we wouldn't have this problem if it wasn't for this guy.
Yeah, extradition wouldn't have ever been an issue, that he
Yeah.
would have needed to get retracted if
Yeah.
he hadn't blown up.
I mean, because drugs are still being dealt.
Yeah.
So it's like, just because he's in prison and they're not going to extradite them to another country, it's still happening.
Yeah.
So they could possibly still be doing their business and not have the government breathing down their necks.
Right.
But like, oh no, he's fixed it by building his own prison.
And you know what, just speaking on that, because there was this scene with Gaviria and his wife walking through, and she was like listening, listen, there's the...
Yeah, we can start talking about
talking
him.
about that. I felt that was pretty interesting too, because I'm like, okay, I understand that Pablo was a tyrant and he was causing a lot of chaos and violence in Colombia. But like you were saying, the drug cartel hasn't stopped. People are still shipping drugs. It's still violent. People are still dying from it. Maybe not to the extent that they were when they were having that war.
Right.
But I just thought it was interesting, the fact that they were trying to, I guess, make a statement of, because Pablo is away at this point, like, Colombia is safe, Colombia is clean, we've gotten rid of all those issues. And I don't think that that's the case. There's other cartels, there's still drug, it's a huge drug trafficking country.
Sure.
So I don't know if what you thought about that with that whole scene and making it seem like it was all sunshine and roses and birds are chirping and kids are laughing. You know what I mean? Skipping. You know, like it just seemed like one of those commercials, like a Febreze commercial. I was like, what is going on?
Well, yeah, I had that thought. So that's, you know, in some way, you know, making this deal with the devil, you know, Javier makes this deal with Pablo, it's a deal with the devil. It has brought about some kind of peace. I thought, okay, yeah, drugs are still being trafficked, but people aren't afraid to, like, I guess go outside or skip and sing in the park, you know, that kind of thing. But like, so was it a good thing that they made the deal with them? I was kind of stuck on that. Like, did he kind of make the right call? Because at least they have it's a false sort of hope or a false sort of peace. Yeah. But at least people are, you know, I forget what she said, like something like, oh, people are outside again and that kind of thing.
Vendors are out, you know.
Yeah, you know, like people are like, oh man, we can go outside again
sell
because
stuff,
like no one's going to kill us today. I think the show is trying to pose that question. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it wasn't so bad after all.
But I mean, even if that's the case, I feel like he has to know that it's only a temporary fix.
Yes,
this is not something
absolutely
permanent. And so you've made this deal with the devil. It's only going to be temporary. You're going to get people in a state of, you know, being more comfortable in how things were, and then all of that's going to get uprooted again. So is it really worth it to go through all of this if we're just going to be right back in the same place again?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, then you're absolutely right. It's a temporary fix. You know, it's a compromise of epic proportions here, but like, I guess he felt like he was painting into a corner. He didn't have anywhere else to go. But
I guess instant gratification is better than just war and killing and violence.
Yeah. Well, and they would have had. I mean, I guess in some ways, like maybe, you know, as a politician, he's thinking about casualties and other people dying, and like at least this stops the bloodshed for a little while. But at the same time, I mean, the guy's in like a, you know, amazing place.
Let's talk about this prison.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, before we do, let's talk about iTunes. Also, so before we move on from Javier, I totally forgot about this, but they see the photos. You know, Steve and Javier, like, look what's going on. You guys got evidence. And he's like, we're just gonna look over here and
look at that little birdie over there.
You know, and he's basically like, you know, well, him doing his stuff in there and whatever's going on in there, at least people, you know, people aren't dying.
Safer,
Or safer, you know, which is, I guess, it's kind of the same point, but it was just interesting that they're like, we, you know, who else has these photos? Are they going to link them to the press? Probably, which they do. But, you know, just kind of like, will Eduardo, what do you think?
We'll look into this. Thanks, guys.
We'll be right on top of this. Drop these
shredder. Exactly.
So just interesting that, you know, that they're gonna have to do something about all that, you know. But anyway, folks, make sure you head over to iTunes, give our Narcos After Show a rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. It helps out the network, helps keep the lights on, helps get us a new studio. Apparently,
it keeps us water.
It gives us water, cups with the word AFTERBUZZ on them.
Swanky.
But we have one episode left next week, and we want to shout you out on the show. If you've been listening all season, really liking what we're doing, give us a rating, 5 stars. You're 9 episodes in. You like us.
Cinco.
You know you do.
Cinco. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, cinco. For those of us we have some subtitles. Yeah. Or those of us who took 3 years of Spanish.
Either way.
Yeah. That's what I did. But it would really help us out. And also leave us a comment on the YouTube video if you're watching it. So yeah, let's talk about that prison. The Fortress.
Oh my gosh. The horrible prison that no one would ever want to go to.
But like you were saying at the top of the show, so he has this brilliant idea. This is how we can have some peace here. This is how y'all can stop breathing down our necks. I'm just going to build myself a paradise. But at the same time, you know, it's like a fake prison, but it's becoming more of a prison for Pablo. He's losing his mind. Yeah. Obviously. You know, obviously we'll talk about Galeano, Moncada.
But you know what? To echo pretty much every other character, specifically Steve, in this episode, you gotta give it to him. I mean, in what other reality are you gonna have somebody say, okay, I'm going to agree as a government to let you build a prison for yourself. There cannot be any police or government interference within 2 to 3 miles of the prison. you can still receive, import, like no interference there whatsoever. You have your hire your own guards. You have
They're all his guys.
your own staff. Like in what reality would that ever happen? I mean, clearly this one.
Yeah, clearly this one. It really happened, which is crazy.
So you kind of almost gotta like give him a swift pat on the back for that, because that's just crazy how he was able to completely pull that off.
Yeah. Well, he put them in a position where they had to make that call. If someone killed the, like Chelsea Clinton, like we talked about this, like basically that's who that is that they killed. Like the country would be in mourning.
Oh, of course.
And what are we going to do about this guy? And like at least we're going to like seclude him to this area. It's not going to stop his drug trafficking or anything like that. But so it is kind of a very smart move. Everybody's like, you got to give it to him. He won. However, he can now not leave this place.
Yeah.
He can't leave the prison, and it's obviously starting to mess with his mind.
Yeah.
Let alone that he lost Gustavo last episode. His closest family member, they all that stuff from when they were kids, walking in the woods. It seems like, because we talked about Gustavo being like the voice of reason for him. Now, since he doesn't have that voice of reason, there's no reasoning with him.
All stuff's out the bag. Everything. And it's really interesting, even in his state now of just having less and less control, he was still able to make a very clear-minded, very calculated decision, like building his own prison. But yeah, I mean, now it's kind of a double-edged sword, because he's seeing, okay, crap, I have all this space, I have all these things, but I think he's sort of realizing the value of just having more access, how important it is, almost like appreciating the little things, like being with his family and like being able to run this business himself instead of having people do it for him.
Right.
Like all of those things really matter to him. Yeah. And now he's seeing that, okay, even though I do have some freedom, it's not the freedom that I'm used to. It's not the freedom that I want. So I still feel like he still feels like he got the raw end of the deal.
Yeah. Well, and he's the one who put himself in this position.
And he put himself in that position.
Had he not been killing congressmen and just
course.
randomly bombing planes and stuff like this, he wouldn't be in this position. But like, I think what you're saying is like, he misses the old life. He likes being in control. He likes being feared. Yeah. Now he's stuck here. Somebody else is running his business for him. He can't do any of that, and he's stuck. So now he's like just picking fights with the Cali cartel. Yeah. Because
making scrapbooks and picking fights.
Because he's bored.
Yeah.
Which is a scrapbook, by the way. I was like, is that real? Is that like, it has to be. They couldn't make that up, right?
And I'm like, okay, are you really that bored where you're making a scrapbook?
Yes,
you have a casino downstairs.
Like, tell them about the book. Like, well, I'm just cutting stuff out of magazines
and gluing it onto a page. Yeah, I did that in 3rd grade.
That's not a book. Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
Are you gonna sell
not that I need to boast about. Like, I have billions of dollars, Mom. You never boast about that. You
exactly.
About this
My
little
son's
scrapbook.
so smart. He's making a scrapbook.
Yeah.
Just kind of funny, but so he's not satisfied with the money that they're going to give him. Like, it should be $30 million. And even to his own family, Kiko, that's his family. And Mokana, I don't think he's related to him.
Well, I mean, they both,
Godfather, godson. He said that's my
he's
godson.
Godfather to both of their kids.
But they're like family.
Family, yeah.
And now, he doesn't have any family anymore. Or he has his family. But Gustavo, like basically like his brother. He doesn't have
as far as
anymore.
like who's in the business, that's probably the closest he has to family.
Yeah, but all this like the war tax, right? I think that and him raising it after he loses pool. Don't beat this man. He's crazy. But
and I was gonna ask you, like, do you think that they actually did it? Do you think that they stole the money? And
I don't think so.
And I was gonna ask myself that, but I was like, I don't even think it matters. I think that like Kiko said, he was like, you have already made up in your mind that we did this horrible thing, and you're losing it. So just go ahead and do what you're gonna do. And I think that that's now showing a completely different side of Pablo from who he was in the beginning, where he was very strategic about what he did. If he killed or did anything like that, it was all strategic and it was all a part of a larger plan. But now he's just like killing for the sake of killing. There's no real sense or logic or reason to it. It's just out of anger and rage. Yeah. And that's a really dangerous place to be.
Yeah. Well, he's continuing to lose control. Like he doesn't control his business anymore. This whole thing of the war tax to me is like, again, he doesn't need the money. Yeah. He's got money buried in fields. You want more money, just go dig up one of those fields. Apparently there was $3 million in the field. But, he doesn't have this control anymore. So him having this war tax on these guys and then raising it is just a way for him to try to continue to assert himself. Or at least that's how I see it. And then so much so that, like, you know, the evidence that Galliano and Moncada didn't take the money is because the way he's talking to him, you know, Kiko's talking to him, he's like what's wrong with you? What's going on? Like, like, one, like you said, you've already made up your mind. But what's going on with you? We're family. We've been doing this since whenever. I don't need the money either.
Yeah.
You know, and also we're paying the tax. Now, his wife shouldn't have said what she said.
Kind of threw him under
the bus. Like, I mean, maybe she was trying to help, but you're dealing with a crazy person.
Yeah.
You're dealing with one of the most ruthless, gangsters out there.
Yeah. And it's at a time when he's most fragile, you know what I mean? And vulnerable, too. Yeah. Ever since Gustavo, he now feels even more extremely paranoid. He feels like he can't trust anybody. No one's on his side.
He's questioning everyone.
Everybody. So this is not the time for you to be trying to drop little...
Yeah, like, maybe it'd be nice if you were fair to him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Look, $1 million is steep, but these guys got plenty of money.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
And you're going to get him killed, which that's what got him killed. You know, like... Yeah, that other dude, the other goon, all of his little yes men around him is like, yeah, maybe they took the money. Oh, it's convenient or whatever, which I'm like, thanks for that. Thanks a lot, dude. But these are the closest people too. I mean, he's questioning those guys too. Yeah. And even Tata's like, you know, like, don't question my husband, you know. But you should question him because he totally killed your husband.
You should have been questioning him from day one. Yeah, well, honey, why are we sowing money into your mother's couch? Yeah, that should have been the first question.
Yeah, should have, but we're not dealing with rational people. When you're willing to do something illegal to turn a profit, it's not the smartest thing you do. But man, he beat the snot out of Moncada there, and then he wouldn't even touch Galliano. Did he have some closer thing with Galliano? He won't actually do it. Galliano's like, you do it with your own hands,
like,
you know?
Yeah, be a man, even and all that.
Spits in his face. I'm like, I wouldn't spit in his face right now.
And that was just, I mean, I think he already knew that.
He knew, but it didn't help. Like,
yeah, of course.
Look, maybe he wouldn't have done it, but yeah, that was to ensure it. But it was coming either way.
I think they had to have known leaving there. Like, I think they were like, you know, when they called their other goon, they were like, get your ass to the plane, let's get out of here. Because I think they kind of sensed that, okay, either he's going to do it here or he's going to do it once we get back. So
yeah, that conversation about the money, especially when he's just like, is it my money or is it not my money? I mean, the reason Galliano gets up and starts yelling at those other dudes, not Pablo, because I ain't the guy to yell at. You know, because
but he did yell at Pablo.
Yeah, he did. Like, but he questioned him on like a loyalty family thing, which is important to Pablo. That's the only way to really get through to him. Yeah. And then he spent the rest of his time yelling at the other dudes because, like, look, I only have so much room to go here. But I think at that moment they both knew because the look on both of their faces. So that was a great scene, by the way. It was really well acted by everybody in the scene. Because even Mocado's like, he's just like, you're his son's godfather, and he's just like, but they know what's coming,
of course. And they it seemed like they were pleading to, like, trying to pull out every little but just trying to pull out all of his sensitive spots to shake him back into a rational state of mind, which at that point he's just completely gone. There's none left.
Well, it's even him, like, kind of kneeling down there to talk to him. That's like almost a subservient position to, like, look, you're the man, no one's questioning you're the man, but you don't have to question family because we're loyal to you. We've made so much money. And even Pablo says, like, well, maybe I've been in here too long. Yeah, dude, you have been in here too long, but couldn't let it go. And just goes nuts on him. And even I thought that dude on the soccer field was going to get it. Which maybe he will. But
and just quick side note, did you think that they ate them at the end?
God, I hope not. Probably not.
It was just, it was
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, but
it wouldn't be the
blood on his face after
he
beats up Moncada, like, that was like, you know, like, we've known how ruthless of a killer that he becomes. He's a very, he's a ruthless gangster, or whatever. But, like, that was maybe the scariest I've seen him on the show, I think.
Oh yeah,
with the blood running down his face, looking his his family in the face and being like,
the anger and the rage that he just allowed to unleash for really no reason. Like, if you analyze it, there was no reason for you to kill him. They probably were one of your biggest allies.
There wasn't, but again, he doesn't have Gustavo anymore. He doesn't have somebody to talk some sense into him. I think Gustavo is the only one who could really talk to him like that.
And he's in prison going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So
yeah, exactly.
That's
no
what
matter
happens.
how many ladies visit him.
Oh, yeah.
Or his family.
Or politicians or whoever else.
Whoever else. Everybody's visiting in prison.
I'm like, shoot, should I go and visit? Like, what's...
But of course, it's not enough. And it's just kind of like one of those things where, like, you know, dealing in this kind of life will ultimately lead you to be alone.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening now. You know, he's killed...
Alone or dead.
Yeah, alone or dead, which, yeah. But anyway, let's predict about what's going to happen.
Sure.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
How you
Oh,
feeling?
man. I'm getting a little nervous. I'm telling you. It's the season finale. I haven't watched it. I had an urge to press that play button for the next one, but I didn't. I hope we bring things full circle with with Steve and Pablo putting the hit out on him. I wonder how that's going to play out. Although when he did it, if I remember correctly, he wasn't in. It didn't look like he was in jail when he made that call to put the hit out on Steve.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to happen in this season or if it's going to be something in the later seasons. But the fact that they brought it back in this episode, hopefully that comes to some sort of, they bring it back full circle
to like what's happening with Steve.
What's happening with the hit on Steve.
He gets suspended because they leaked those photos, right?
Did he?
Yeah, well...
Oh, well, he gets kind of in hot water.
Yeah. I mean, they leaked... Like, gosh, what am I thinking of?
I mean, they get in some hot water for it, but I mean, that's like every episode. They're getting in hot water.
Yeah, they do. But finally, it's like, all right, you guys are suspended for a little while.
It's just kind of like, Alvin, like, you know, yelling at him again. So I think that is gonna... Hopefully, that'll kind of come back and sort of bite Steve in the booty.
Yeah.
I think that definitely now Gaviria probably is going to try and bring the hammer down on Pablo.
They kind of have to do something.
Yeah, with this whole prison situation and hopefully try to send him to a real prison. You know, we'll see how that plays out. And outside of that, I guess I'm really interested to see where they ended because I have a feeling that they're not going to end it where obviously we know how the story ends.
Right.
So just sort of, I'm really interesting to see, you know, like, but I kind of almost feel like Pablo's going to pull one more fast move. Like it's going to be some sort of fast move, something to where he kind of wins again, or he has like a mini win and kind of leaves us like stumped. Like, oh my gosh, really? How many times can you pull yourself out from underneath?
It's like a cat got 9 lives.
50 million lives. 50 billion lives buried all over Colombia. Like
I like that the farmer was just like, I'm not touching this money.
Okay, he was probably the smartest person.
Like finally somebody who was like,
he's like, he gave it to a guy who gave it to a guy who gave it to a guy. Exactly. He didn't take not $1.
Yeah, he knows.
Job.
He's like, money buried in the ground. I know what this is. I'm not even gonna touch $1. Look, it's all accounted for. So yeah, I'm gonna agree. Something's gonna happen with Steve. That conversation on the roof with the informant and him saying he needs some more convincing or whatever the wording was there. I can see something bad happen to Steve now that he's got some time off work. Yeah. You know, and then it can be to babysit the baby. Although it would be nice, but not going to happen on this show. I can see Gaviria, like, they've got to take action on Pablo. It would have to be some way to get him, like, out of the prison because, you know, they got that whole, like, they can't come within a certain radius of it. Yeah. But there's got to be a way. Maybe they send the military in. I mean, that's the only way you're going to fight these guys. I'm sure they got guns loaded up in that prison. Well, I mean, if he's broken the law, so that they can send police enforcement if he's broken the law. That's true.
But it
would be a fight to get him out of there.
Of course.
So maybe they have to come up with some sort of like clever way to be like, look, we're gonna take you to this other place, but then, and let's see, we were talking about Steve. Yeah, I think that's it. I think those are all the predictions I got. Where can people find you online, Ashley Chapman?
Well, they can find me on Twitter and Instagram, if that's the Colombian way to say it. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Ashley_Chapman. Give me your guys' comments, ideas for how you think the last episode, but don't spoil it for me because I haven't watched it yet.
Yes. You can follow me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram, the Isaac Johnson. And next Sunday, I will be on CSI Cyber next Sunday night.
Ooh, what a great end to the finale. We should just play that for this whole episode instead of talk about it.
Yeah, 10 o'clock CBS. It's a very exciting time. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week for the finale.
Woo-hoo. See you next week, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.